pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. Approval of the agenda. I do have a couple things to add and change on there. Under citizens business verbal, number 2, we're going to move under number 1 mayor to number 2 under both about the ordinance.
What was that?
Under mayor council member reports, there's that number 1. We're going to move that to number 2 under citizens business verbal.
Okay.
And then under citizens business verbal, number 3, Methodist Church. And then we need to add an executive session referencing personnel 16-4-405 II. And that's all the changes I have. If anybody else has anything.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the amended agenda.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. I get the approval of the minutes of the regular meeting of Monday, June 5th, 2023.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Nominations for recognition.
Couple.
Okay.
Garrett Horton for our P&Ds, what they bring into the community, and then one I always kind of forget, and then I just happen to listen to the announcements and everything going on at the ball field with Joey Mefford with the Mefford Memorial Majors Tournament.
That was his 10th memorial.
Yeah.
Very good.
Any others?
Can I add something to Joey Medford Memorial? Can you add his brother's name on here too, Brian? They do it as a family, and
I think it should be like for our King Days, their team, as well as Garrett and another thing. Any others? No certificates of recognition, no business in writing. Business verbal, number 1, Bruce Perkins.
yes. I'm here to ask for some signage permission, not only for myself as Perkins Tavern, but also for the Travel Commission. For years, I have been putting up signs along the fence line in front of Baumgart's, and that's been DOT property. I went and talked to them about a month and a half ago, and they said a mandate came down from the state office. No signage, whatever, is allowed anymore because there's been too many problems. People putting up signs and not taking them down. And it said, especially the ones that say, vote for me. People not coming picking them up afterwards. So they're having to deal with those complaints. So they just quit allowing it at all. So I was wanting to know if there's any areas here in the city that you allow me to put up some signs to detour people off the bypass and into downtown. It could say anything. I mean, I got ones that are generic, Old Town Newcastle, or come visit Newcastle. And I got ones Perkins Tavern. So I just wondering if there's any city property at all that could allow me to put some of these up.
I think, can I say something? This is a great idea. And I think we should spend some time thinking about this and really get something up for him and for the city and downtown people. I think it's wonderful.
That's in great location.
The only place we have along that route would be the parks, and we haven't allowed that because T-posts get driven all the time and sprinkler systems get hit, as well as in the campaign signs show up on city property, which I thought we had an ordinance, don't quote me on it, against allowing advertising in city parks.
Even
I would have to do a little bit of investigating.
well, even for, you say for the city alone, say my business or any other businesses, put aside, anything that we can put up at a temporary basis. And like the corner of Stampede where the park is and the coal car is with flowers.
It's on highway department.
I'm afraid you could say it.
Yeah, we have permission to have our stuff on the highway department property. But we can't regulate what they say we can and can't do.
Have it.
Stampede Street, the Arboretum would be the only place past the highway department property. Centennial Park, Washington Park, that's about all we own along that route.
And so
What
there's
about in
no
front of the
easement.
chamber? Is
Pardon?
that in front of the chamber?
DOT property, I believe. They have so many feet off the roadway, and they're, and it's actually part of their business, so I believe that's all DOT property.
Yeah, and even the signs that are on the big rack,
Yeah.
by Pinnacle Bank,
Yeah.
they had to get special permission from the highway department years and years ago to even do that.
Now, I asked them specifically about that because I've worked with Pinnacle Bank over the years, and they said I could put signs up there on that side of the sidewalk, and the DOT said that side of the sidewalk is their property, and that they can, that's fine. They would allow, they wouldn't do anything with it. But with Pinnacle Bank too, they say make it generic, no businesses, the same downtown Newcastle, Old Town, whatever, and they allow me to put it up. I've been doing that for years, so that's still in play. But, I want to add to it. Can you tell me about the fence line that's on the bypass, the walkway that's with refinery?
That's all DOT.
That's DOT? Okay, well, that goes that out, so I was going to see if I can call Farnsworth and see if we should put some banners up there. See, so I'm having a dilemma with this. It's either got to be private property or city. And we got two people that I've been working with, which is the bank and Hanson's Repair. We've been putting a sign up there for 2 years. It's the old sign that was replaced for downtown Newcastle. I kept it, put it on some posts, and just set it out there and put some sandbags on it so it doesn't get blown over. But we're looking to expand. We're trying to expand all of it, both sides of town, middle of the bypass. So any help we can get, please.
We can make some phone calls.
Okay.
Try to make some phone calls.
Bruce, have you talked to any of the private owners along right there by the car wash in there on the right?
No, I haven't talked to the car wash. Anybody with the car wash? Anybody there with private ownership? I haven't talked to there.
Because
I'm leaving out, the stores because it's company owned and they'll say no right away. I've tried that.
on the other side of the street, private homes, there's that one big lot where the guy keeps that old Volkswagen that's falling apart. And he might let you put up some signs.
I don't know about that either because there's an old gas station on the corner that had signs and they were told to take it out by the DOT. Because it's not a permitted billboard, it's permanently fixed.
Did you talk to, didn't the Chevy garage buy that big piece of land over by Salem Street?
They didn't buy it.
Buy it?
They didn't
Oh,
buy
you mean their lot that they fixed up and got cars on out there?
Yeah.
Okay.
it. They
I
were
haven't
going
talked
to,
to
but they
them
never did.
Okay, so I don't know who owns that, but
It's a Chevy dealership here. Is that what you're talking about?
yeah, well, I'm confused because Bev says that they
Bev
didn't.
said no.
Bev said they didn't.
I talked to Shonda and she said they never purchased it.
But they have, okay, but they still park their
But
cars?
they're just leasing, I think, to park the vehicles on.
Okay. I might have to
I
find out
understood it.
who owns that, see if we
That
can.
might be a good spot for a banner.
Well, see, anything we do is gonna be temporary. It's gonna be T-posts, whether I can sink them in the ground or put them in a concrete bucket. I don't care, and then stake them out in the road. Anything's gonna be temporary that's picked up at probably after Raleigh. That's usually when our tourist season starts ending up. So, it's just, let everybody know, whoever you talk to, it's temporary. It's not a permanent thing.
Don't forget to call before you dig.
I've had that situation too. Years ago.
We'll see what we can find out for you.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, moving on to citizens verbal number 2, city ordinance section 22-3, obstructing. I believe you all have a copy of that ordinance. It's,
Can I get a copy? You have an extra?
so this ordinance reads, obstructing passage on roadway, etc., exception. Number A says it shall be unlawful for any person to obstruct any roadway, alley, or sidewalk in the city in such a manner as to interfere with the passage of a vehicle or person along such roadway, alley, or sidewalk. Provided, however, that upon written application, the governing body of the city may be motion grant a permit to the applicant, allowing the applicant to obstruct that section of the sidewalk directly in front of premises owned, leased, rented, or otherwise lawfully possessed by the applicant if the proposed obstruction does not unreasonably interfere with pedestrians, benefits the public in general. So I was told that I myself am in violation of this ordinance because I have bistro tables and chairs out front of the owners. So,
The word unreasonably is pretty wide open there.
right.
So what-
But there's plenty of room between my chairs and the sidewalk for wheelchairs, whatever.
So who's telling you this, ma'am?
I'm a citizen.
Citizen.
So, but they also at the same time were telling me that many other businesses on Main Street are in violation as well, but they brought it to me. And so I would like to, turn it over. I know there's a couple Main Street business owners here today. Also, I would like to see if we can make a revision in this ordinance, like we did with trailers, that, if not gaudy, not, warm and inviting is what we're looking for to be put in here from, I would say April 15th to November 1st, that it be allowed, instead of having everyone come in and ask to get permission to put something outside.
I still don't understand why you're in violation, because you're not obstructing the public way. So I don't know
Because
why
it
we
was-
would have to
it
do
was-
anything with the ordinance.
It was brought to me in regards to obstruction, having things outside in front of my business. Now, I've had it there for 4 years, but when they're starting to say other people are in violation as well, I thought it would be something that we definitely would need to discuss.
So do you have a permit to do it?
To have chairs and stuff outside? I do not, so I'm in
So it's right here, you gotta have a permit.
violation. Right,
So why not get a permit?
well,
She has to have a permit if it's unreasonable.
but,
Did you read it?
That's not what.
But the rest of them,
yes,
the rest of them have to come and do that too.
exactly.
That's
So,
what it says.
what I'm trying to do is, if we are
So-
able to make a revision, so businesses on Main Street, like Sagebrush Marketing, seconds, that we could put stuff that's nice and inviting outside, like we did with the trailers for during the winter snow removal, that we do not need to have every individual that wants to put something that's welcoming outside their storefront, having to come in and get it.
Is this the same individual that was complaining about sandwich boards?
Yeah,
No?
because I was gonna say that too.
Yeah, for years I've been doing it too, and I've come in and asked, because normally I ask for an open container for those tables and chairs in front of my place, in front of my building. But when they have special events like the one on the 14th of next month, I just put them out for the convenience of the public. I don't ask for an open container normally with stuff unless I'm requested to. So, and me coming to you and you giving me verbal permission, sounds like we're in violation. You know, I would like to see something a little bit more lax, like the verbal permission be granted to the city council instead of having to fill out forms all the time. You know, to have them.
We just revised the ordinance,
That's
and that's what you're asking.
That's what I'm asking. I'm asking from, and the reason I said November 1st is because there's truck and treat. And so the main street is full and, you know, people sit down and there's already stuff out on Main Street. And then usually after that, you know, it starts to get cold and businesses bring stuff in. But like Ms. Womack brought up earlier, she stated that, you know, somebody drove by 3 times just for parking, but then somebody would have drove by if they didn't see what she had outside. And that brought that person into her business.
It makes it look like we have something going on downtown. I agree, we have to be tasteful about it and not clutter the sidewalk for sure. I don't want to do that.
So, I'm still hazy as to the verbiage here.
Well,
I mean, it sounds like, so are your tables considered an obstruction? Or is that a matter of opinion?
I think that's a matter of opinion, because I'm not blocking anybody's.
You can still walk on the sidewalk past your
You
establishment.
can, and a wheelchair as well can fit through, wagons can fit through, strollers can fit through. But,
I don't see how that's an obstruction then, unless anything on the sidewalk is considered.
That's an obstruction, that's what this person
There would be
thinks.
trash cans
And that's a matter of opinion, because the tables aren't bothering me, I can walk down the sidewalk just fine.
See, I know in the past, when I've asked for putting out tables and chairs, it was asked me, how much are you gonna take up? Approximately half the width of the sidewalk. And they, okay, people get by with no problem. Everybody seems to have been happy with that in the past years.
Okay, so what you want to reword it like? Tell us.
well, I mean, this is just something I thought was, you know, we did the whole, from September to May,
For the
such and such can't
removal
be,
trailers.
right, can't be on the streets due to snow removal. I was thinking we could do something from like April to November 1st, that decorative, warm and welcoming bistro style tables, chairs, designs or whatever to welcome people.
I would ask to extend that because August is our biggest tourist time.
Well, as I said, April through November 1st.
I would,
November 1st? Oh, okay, I thought it was right, so, I'm sorry.
I would suggest through January 1st because so many of us put stuff out for Christmas decorations.
If I may, Madam Mayor.
Council down.
You do it all year round. So what's the point in changing it?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Actually, it would be nice to have them out there November 1st, because it does make it difficult. We can't plow in front of your establishment. Our plows are too big to take it around all the stuff and weed through all the light poles and stuff.
And
So I would like to see something for the winter time.
I bring mine in every night, so
I think mine is every night.
You know, years ago, I remember even when I was a kid downtown that it was always good, like you had mentioned, it looks like you've got something to offer. And we had sidewalk sales all the time come through Main Street. And they had stuff that was out there that you could see. And they see that you have something, so that's gonna entice people to stop.
Well, and I think the other thing is too, is that Main Street is getting fuller. I mean, we now have more businesses down there than we've had in the past, since I moved here.
Not since
So,
those crazy days were happening, because it was
Yeah.
that then.
yeah,
Crazy
but I mean,
days.
it's a lot better than it has been in years.
Well, maybe we could say, like, you have to bring them in at night.
Or most of the time, if it's merchandise, it's usually brought in.
Anyway, right.
But
Some
you
of the
want to put something in
establishments.
there for the summertime,
Right, but I mean,
from
like,
November 1st until
right,
March
Bring it in.
31st.
right.
They would have to be brought in after
Off the
normal
sidewalk.
business hours or
Right.
something.
Anyway, that's,
Douglas can figure that out.
but I just thought it would be,
He's good.
something so that we're not getting complaints about sandwich boards or people's tables and chairs or, but I mean, if it's really overly done and not attractive, then what do we do?
And somebody's gotta be able to make that call.
Madam Mayor, if I may, I was gonna request a streets committee meeting to discuss the crosswalk and a couple other items. Do you wanna send it to the committee and see what they can come up with?
That would be a good idea. That'd be a good idea.
Yes.
So, but, in the meantime, can we get a motion for permission for the businesses on Main Street to have a nice setup outside?
Your Honor,
I'd like to say one more thing about
Okay.
this.
Yes, please.
I don't have a problem with the stuff being on the sidewalk. I think her point is it's very well put. That it does attract people driving down through town, and it attracts people to shop. But something's gotta be done about the bicycles and the skateboards. Because you're going in and out, those kids are going in and out, and I'm telling you, I'm sitting right on Main Street right now in my office, and their bikes go by, you just see a flash. You don't see the vehicle, you just see a flash. And not to mention vehicles that I've time and time again said something about, but nothing's being done. But the bicycles have to get off the street, and there's an ordinance right there in the book that said no bicycles.
Is it the street or the
The
sidewalk?
street or the sidewalk?
The sidewalk.
Sidewalk.
Sixth Street.
Yeah.
Well, I meant the sidewalk. I'm wound up because I'm just.
I understand. I understand. I am too. I have walked out of my own bar and I've almost got hit.
What if somebody walks out of your establishment and a bike goes by and the bike gets them?
No,
I mean,
that
it's
did
gonna
happen a number of years ago, and it hit
Something
a
has to
lady,
be
she
done.
fell and broke her hip. So that very thing did
So do we
happen.
wait till something happens or do we do something?
This is the other thing we'll run into, is if we say the kids can't be on the sidewalks on bikes, they're gonna go into traffic. And then we'll be here saying, this kid got hit, he's dead, now something's gotta be done.
So what about the person that's on the sidewalk? What if it kills them?
I've had to stop them when they were
She just
trying
said
to go
somebody
right
got a
through a
broken
whole
hip
crowd
for
of
Pete's
bikers
sake.
sitting out having lunch.
And it was older.
But wasn't that why
There's
they
already-
widened the sidewalks years ago, so the bicycles could be on the sidewalks instead of the roads? I don't know, I don't remember.
There's an ordinance in the book, no bicycles on the sidewalk.
That's only for downtown,
Clear,
isn't
clear
it?
and precise right there. I just looked it up.
I think it's only for downtown though, isn't it?
Main Street?
Because of the bike
That's where it
paths and
needs to be.
everything else that are legal for them.
It doesn't specify.
That might need to be looked at
Well,
too
we'll
then.
put that on the streets committee too, to figure out a plan for that. But I do worry because where are they gonna ride?
This is what I would caution,
Go on the bike path.
since I have to enforce ordinances, this is what I would caution the council on, is making too many ordinances that are unreasonable.
These were made a long time ago. We're not making ordinances.
No, but there's a lot of unreasonable ordinances that I've noticed.
So bicycle riding on the sidewalk downtown is unreasonable?
I'm not saying that specifically, but I'm just cautioning the council on that. Because if you make too many ordinances, then we can't enforce those. Am I gonna write a 10-year-old a ticket for riding his bike on a sidewalk? I'm not going to.
So you're just gonna keep riding it? Are you gonna write a ticket for somebody doing 80 down Main Street? No, nobody's done it yet. And it happens all the time.
Okay.
I mean all the time.
I can't enforce every law all the time in the city of Newcastle. Do I put my officers out there trying to enforce major violations like that? Absolutely. And I think our statistics can show that since I've become chief, our DUIs have gone up, our drug arrests have gone up. So we're making an impact in our city. But if I write a city ordinance to a 10-year-old, there might be a fine, but that is all. It's not gonna put the kid on probation. It's not gonna do anything like that. So, you know, it's a similar,
So we just let it go. Just let it keep happening, right?
This is the slippery slope that we run into. I mean, even when my dad was chief, I mean, we have a lot of ordinances that are on the books that aren't enforced, right? And then trying to decide for the good of our populace, what we should enforce and what we shouldn't enforce is really tough. So I mean, yeah, I can see both sides. I mean, I don't.
Read the letter to the editor, was it 2-3 weeks ago? That gal was spot on.
I actually didn't read that.
Pretty embarrassing, actually.
Was it? Well, I'll have to check that out, Councilman Downs. But, I mean, as far as moving kids off the sidewalk into the street, it just seems like that's kind of dangerous too, so.
It's
At
gonna
the
be
same
dangerous.
time, we need to do something to help spruce up the downtown, roll out the red carpet for people so that tourism and the commerce of our businesses downtown will flourish. So, yeah, you guys got some balancing act, the juggling act you're gonna have to do here with this, but, you know, it needs to be done, and we need to do everything we can to improve the economy of downtown.
Here, here.
Well, we'll turn that over to you and the streets committee. Maybe we can, put something out on Facebook about, you know, parents talk to your kids about bicycle safety. We can come up with something to put out. Maybe the newspaper can help us.
Don't look at me.
So, but, anyway, that's what I was looking for, and then.
Maybe they should just walk their bike down the sidewalk. If they're going down Main Street, and that's where we're talking, isn't it, is Main Street. They should walk their bike in the sidewalk to the, wherever at the end of this Main Street.
I normally try not to inject too much because of representing the newspaper, and that's really not something I'm supposed to do with my personal opinion. So this, I'm taking off the newspaper hat. This is just me. One of the things is, I think that the term unreasonable, when you're talking about the stuff that's on the sidewalks, you need to define that a little bit better, so that, because I have never had a problem, and I limp. I have never had a problem walking up and down Main Street. Not once. Not even during trunk or treat. And I'd hate to see that thing end November 1st. I mean, I understand about plowing and stuff like that, but you got Parade of Lights. We do have other things that go on. The other thing is, what about speed bumps down Main Street to slow the traffic down so it's safer for bicyclists to use the lanes?
Potholes.
Yeah, I'm not talking potholes. I'm just spitballing on that one, but if there's a way to literally keep the traffic from going, I haven't seen it go 80, but I've seen them zoom. You know, we had a guy come off of Main Street and hit a car. We had just bought it. It had been parked in front of our house when we were on Summit for 20 minutes. And he totaled it. Just roaring around from Main Street onto Summit, wasn't even at the 30-mile-an-hour sign yet. So yeah, if there's a way to slow down traffic down Main Street, that should make it safer for the bicyclists in the bike lanes. I get the idea of not wanting them in the street when you do see people zipping up and down. But I don't like them on the sidewalk. I've almost been hit once. That's a little annoying.
So are we deferring the original premise of this discussion to the streets committee?
Yes, but
So there doesn't need to be a motion made or anything, we're gonna wait for the streets committee's,
Let's do that.
unless we feel like a temporary motion could be
In the
made.
meantime, I think we should do that. We should pass a motion tonight that all those downtown merchants can put any damn thing that they want to it, as long as it's perfect.
And
As long as we got a
yeah. And it's
I'll go out there and stand outside right away.
And it's not obstructing any passageway
Basically waiving the permit piece of it.
for
I think
temporary.
the motion would be to give them all a permit now, until November 1st. To put any reasonable thing on the sidewalk without blocking traffic. and take it in at night if they can.
But wouldn't that be up to the individual business owner to come in and submit for a time period to do that? Wouldn't that be up to the individual business owner to come in and submit for that permit to do that?
No, I'm saying they don't
I
have to, we
have
just
to
do it.
pause, we have to pause because we do have a scheduled budget hearing for 7:30. So it is 7:30, we'll get right back to that and we'll get to Methodist Church in a moment. So for our budget hearing, this was so notice of the hearing on the city budget. Notice is hereby given that the public hearing on the proposed budget for the city of Newcastle, Wyoming for the fiscal year ending on June 30th, 2024, which is now being considered by the council of the said city, will be held at the chamber of the city council on the 19th day of June 2023 at 7:30 p.m., at which time any and all persons interested may appear and be heard respecting such budget. A summary of the proposed budget follows. Details of the general fund requirements, legislation, council, $32,900, judicial municipal court, $40,650, executive mayor, $8,400, financial administration clerk and treasurer, $191,460, city attorney, $42,000, general administration, $62,350, city hall, $19,400, police department, $1,510,000, fire department, $196,500, protective inspection engineer, $128,300, streets and alleys, $1,035,900, engineer street department, $59,200, cemetery, $243,700, airport, $43,000, health and welfare, $171,500, parks, $333,896, Newcastle recreation, $38,550, other general expenses, $29,700, for a total general fund requirements of $4,187,406. Details of the water fund requirements: capital expense, water department, $108,000. Wells, tanks, and pumping equipment, $526,000. Transmission and distribution, $1,041,400. Engineer water department, $74,700. Accounting and collection, $77,570. Other general expenses, $22,000. Total water fund requirements is $1,849,670. Details of sewer fund requirements: sewer, $1,973,050. Engineer sewer department, $56,000. Total sewer fund requirements is $2,029,050. Details of garbage fund requirements: operating expense, $533,600. Engineering garbage department, $90,700. Other general expenses equipment, $10,000. Total garbage fund requirements is $634,300. Total appropriations is $8,700,426.
I would make a motion that we approve the budget.
I second.
We have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay, budget approved for 2024. Ordinance number 2, series 2023, ordinance providing for revenue to be raised by taxation with the city of Newcastle, Wyoming for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. Be it ordained by the governing body of the city of Newcastle, Wyoming, section 1, that revenue shall be raised by the general taxation within the city of Newcastle, Wyoming by means of taxation levied upon taxable property within the corporate limits of the said city for the purpose of defraying expenses and paying liabilities of said city as hereinafter set forth to wit. General purpose is 8 mills. Redemption of bonds, none. Bond interest, none. Total to be raised by taxation is 8 mills. Section 2, it is hereby declared that an emergency exists and the passage of this ordinance is necessary to preserve the public health, peace, safety, and welfare, and that the required 3 public readings shall be suspended in accordance with Wyoming Statute 15-1-115, and that this ordinance shall be in full force and effect from and after its passage and upon proclamation by the mayor pursuant to Wyoming Statute 15-1-116.
Madam Mayor, I make a motion that we pass ordinance number 2, series 2023.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. I, Pam Walteri, Mayor of City of Newcastle, Wyoming, proclaim that ordinance number 2, series 2023, passed on the 19th day of June 2023 on emergency basis in accordance with Wyoming Statute 15-1-115, operating for the immediate preservation of the public peace, safety, or welfare, and pursuant to Wyoming Statute 15-1-116. It shall be effective immediately, and thereafter it shall be published as soon as possible according to law. Going back to citizens business verbal number 2, ordinance section 22-3, obstructing. Mr. Perkins, I think I cut you and Councilman Voss off to go into our scheduled hearing.
There was a motion on the floor, Madam Mayor.
Thank you.
I would second Tom's motion.
Oh, okay. Now, I want to get this, make sure that we're getting it straight. Because I want to have this council approve all of our downtown merchants, if tonight we gave them all their permit to do the sidewalk, whatever they want on the sidewalk, as long as it's kind of cute, nice, you know what, like you said.
I'd just like to throw one thing out that might help you with this. It says right here in the ordinance, I'm gonna start from sidewalk. Okay, in the city in which the manner as to interfere with the passage of a vehicle or person on such roadway, alley, or sidewalk. So if we're only using half the sidewalk, we're not interfering with their passage to get through.
That was my point.
Okay, so if we can be allowed, while this process is going on, getting this, checking to see if you want to revise this or not. If we can just be allowed to use the half closest to our buildings, and allow the other half to be open for public, to walk by and everything else, that could probably ease the situation with this.
We have to keep in mind the light poles and the street signs and garbage cans
True.
and all that, so we do need to keep that in mind. there any other discussion? So we have a motion, a second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Okay. And then you'll set up moving on to citizens business verbal number 3. Methodist Church has a new, are you a pastor, deacon?
Sometimes feel like one.
I don't need to not know
Oh,
exactly,
okay.
but
I'm Reverend.
Reverend,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Do you want me up here? At the mic?
Wherever you're comfortable, just to introduce you and.
Okay. So I'm ordained by the United Methodist Church as a Reverend. And I also am completing my doctorate degree, so it'll be Reverend Dr. Hill pretty soon. But I come from a small town. I am a full-blooded Navajo, and I am a very active community member, whichever community I go to and participate in. And so you'll know me around the community. I'll involve myself and also involve my church. I am not just about spreading the gospel. I'm about trying to develop the community to have its betterness, resources for the community, and also for the growth of the community. What you're all discussing here is absolutely up my alley. I'm also a parliamentarian for the United Methodist Church, and so I know all about the procedures that, the amendments and petitions that you're mentioning. I know how to go around them, and know how to work them, and know how to bring them about to the best effectiveness for the community and the development of the community, the growth of the community. You are all in the same position that many of the smaller cities and smaller towns that I've been a part of, and you are in a place of survival and growth, which is nice to see, and all of the issues and circumstances that are coming are in the places of all of the small communities that I've been a part of in Montana and now here in Wyoming. So I just want to introduce myself, and at any time that you need my assistance, feel free to call. Okay.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Welcome to our
Thank you.
town.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yatahi.
Yeah. Also, my father was a co-talker in World War II. So.
Oh, that is really cool.
I served with some Navajo fellows.
Oh, did you really?
When I was in
Yeah.
the Army. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you. That's good. That's good. Yeah. A little bit more practice, but it's good.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome.
We look forward to working with you.
Okay.
Moving on to old business, number 1, ambulance service, memorandum of understanding. You guys all have a copy of it in front of you. It was emailed to you for us to look over. There is one, I have a correction for under number 3. It should say the parties agree that the Newcastle/Campbell County ambulance service shall also provide standby services for fires and pet pests.
Yeah, that's where I had my notes.
Yeah.
Also.
But do we need to say Newcastle, Campbell County? Because they go by both, but I don't know.
I was wondering that too. Those were my notes. Because everything has all been listed under Campbell County, right?
Right, when we pay out to them, their subsidy, it goes to Campbell County. So I didn't know we needed to change that in there as well.
That definitely changed.
Which would have to be changed almost in every paragraph.
That's for sure.
Now, this back side of this is Exhibit A.
Yeah, that was with the old, it was with the old contract that we had. In fact, this was basically the old one that was at least drafted prior to our office being there, I believe. I'm not sure what we would want, the council would want to keep in there, but if at all, anything in there. Just some of the specifics basically would be nice. That way we could add some of those things.
second page under number 3, where it says provide services of 20 out of the 30 days, and that fails to provide sufficient services. So they don't have to,
I think
it's only 20 out of the 30?
I think
So it was just basically the what we were doing with the calculation, and I should have, Councilman, to be fair to you, I should have put that as, that's an example of, if there were 20 days that basically they've been providing services that were sufficient to meet the needs of council, then the 20 days in that calculation would be calculated as such. Minus the 10 days, but it's, if, yeah.
Should we have an exhibit A that states like all those things that you bring up all the time? That you guys said you promised to do what Roger
Well, that's
did.
why we're going over that.
Okay, so exhibit A is very simple. What Roger
Right,
did.
so right now, we're looking at what is on this paper that needs to be changed, and then we can put our additions. So,
Is there any reason that this contract needs to delineate and dispatch at all? And just to say, we'll provide dispatch services? Well, why get involved in a big definition of it? And they can always, that's always something else to come back on you on. Well, you didn't do this on dispatch, and you didn't.
but the thing is dispatch is gonna be moving to Median Health, so that would have to be something to Median Health.
And so we shouldn't even mention.
Well, we can mention it here for the time being, until it's no longer.
I mean, it's dependent on when the Joint Powers Board is created, but either way, it would be fine if this was going to go out today or next week. Obviously, we probably want something basically itemizing that, but I don't know exactly when this will be going out.
We gotta get everything done.
Yeah.
And nothing in the one we've had before, or in this one, states that dispatch services basically are included with the funds that we pay them to have the service. It's just been construed that it's all been included. To me, I think that would probably be better to have something that was related in there, because then that's to me, that's almost a monetary amount that's none of us really see, but it's actually at the bottom line.
So some of the stuff that we were told that they were gonna provide, since you brought up the services that we were getting prior to them taking over. So obviously, we had 4 ambulances, now we have 2. We had a backup, now we have to wait for the backup. They paid transfers, now there's not that many, so I'm not exactly sure what it is we're gonna want in there. I know they're advertising.
So one of the issues that we're gonna run into is, I get that we're obviously trying to get them to, stand up to the promise that they made in the past. The issue, at least that I've found when I was talking with them, is that they have personnel issues. If they are to sign this, then it's obviously something that's binding. The reason that I have it as a contract instead of an MOU is just because it's a little bit, has more teeth and more strength to it in terms of court of law. Now, there's sort of a double edge on that. If they can never find the personnel to actually fill out those positions, and they're going to be failing and breaching the contract every single time. So, the contract needs to for sure state, the
I think we should take that into consideration too. I mean, I'm sorry, that's my opinion.
I mean, we do need to keep it in consideration because I know it's hard to get
It's bad,
staff.
and they're having issues, big time.
So,
But we need to have the backup coverage they say we're gonna have from the other town here. Because we're falling into issues. And maybe July going right, you might come in here. I don't know if they have a transport, how far that ambulance has to be away before they leave. You know, it'd be nice to kind of have those kind of ideas.
there needs to be some work done with the community, because there's been a lot of talk about approaching the hospital about adding an ambulance so that maybe they could provide transports. Again, we need to see if they are advertising and looking for help. I don't know where they're at as far as additional drivers. But I do know that if we don't tread carefully and we run them off, then we got nothing, and we have nothing for our community. We don't have an ambulance service. What are we gonna do if
Well,
we
the
push
county-
them and they leave?
The county is working on, or discussing the ambulance district. That would be something that they would have to put on a ballot. But until then, I mean, everybody knows my thoughts, but we need to do something, but we also need to be able to tell our taxpayers where their money's going. And, you know, I understand that they're having issues hiring people. The way that they were advertising in the past obviously wasn't doable for Newcastle. They're advertising in Gillette or Campbell County. I've only seen once an advertisement in this area. I don't know. I've only seen once. It was on Facebook, I believe.
I agree with the taxpayers need to know where the money's going, but I would hate to tell the taxpayers we do not have an ambulance service.
I agree. The one sentence I find kind of disturbing a little bit, that he doesn't really see the other side of this whole thing, that there's no city's issue, that I highlighted in there, in his piece in there. I feel that cutting the budget in half, or by at least not fair to the response to both EMS provider or the citizens in any community. The other portion of this, the community, like you said, taxpayers, all of us are paying for this service, and we're not getting the service. So how is that justified?
You know,
Him saying that, oh, just give me the money, I'm not gonna still give you the service, but give me the money.
I'm not saying it's justified, I'm not saying that at all, but I am saying this community is elderly.
I
It's
understand
very
that.
elderly.
But we
And-
also have to have something teeth in there to hold them accountable for the taxpayer money that we're trying to hold the service to this community. And not just sit back and say, oh, we're gonna run them
No,
off.
I agree.
Well, and that's the thing though too though, Don, it's like,
It's a
you-
double-edged sword.
it is a double-edged sword, right? But,
If they can't get
Um,
the help,
yeah, I mean,
I don't
is there
think we
something
should
that we
pay-
can do as a community to help this out? We've had lots of meetings, but we don't have a plan in place. So we're poking them, and we might run them off.
Okay, Councilman Owens, can I interrupt you for a second? The hospital has gone to them about using drivers. We've talked to them here about utilizing drivers.
So what's happened with any of that?
They don't wanna hire anybody volunteer. And the other thing is too, is if you look at, the stuff that they brought us about their numbers and their payroll and all of that, the way that they are running their business isn't up to us, it's up to them, and it's not our fault that they have a poor business plan in my eyes, because if you look, all their, they're sending people from Gillette to Rush and then they're sending you right.
I understand all this, Madam Mayor.
So, I mean,
I've been to all of the meetings.
right, so their business plan is something that they need to discuss, but I think as a community, the hospital, us, the commissioners, we have all given them plenty of ideas, even advertising. So, I'm not exactly
I
sure
don't
what
know
else
where
we
they're
can do.
at, Mayor. I haven't heard any updates since our last meeting that we had. I don't know where they're at as far as hiring drivers or anything like that. So-
Nothing has changed.
Maybe we need to ask them to come and meet with us quarterly so that we know what's going on with the service.
Well, in the,
There needs to be
thing
some
it says
communication there.
bi-monthly,
Yeah,
in the,
correct me if I'm wrong, there was basically a discussion, and I don't know if it was agreed upon or not. In fact, I think there wasn't actually a motion to do that, they just said that they would start doing that. That they would start coming in, I don't recall if it was quarterly, but they said that they would be, at least informing the council of progress, basically, if I recall correctly.
And I haven't heard anything since the last meeting personally, so, I mean,
not from them.
I'd be willing to reach out and talk to them. I would call them. I want to know what's going on. Because this is scary. I don't like it. I don't like it for our citizens. So we need to start trying to formulate another plan if we're going to start pushing them and throwing contracts at them. But I think that we should first see where they're at since our last meeting. I mean, a discussion would be in order.
We can invite them to our next meeting. Can you do that? But I still think we need to have this ready so that they are here. We have something to propose to them while they're here, and we can take it back with them to the people that need to sign it, their administrative staff.
Well, I have a question. So far, we've been operating without a contract with these people, is that correct?
Yes and no.
Did they ask us for a contract?
They thought they had a contract because it was through Weston County Commissioners.
Uh-huh.
And Newcastle was mentioned in that contract, and that was corrected the last time they were here.
Did we ever find out if the commissioners are giving them any more money?
No, the last I heard, I only talked to one commissioner, and it's only one commissioner. It has nothing to do with what the other commissioners' thoughts are, but they do have a meeting tomorrow. That commissioner stated to me that as of today's date, well, the day that I talked to him, as of that date, he has still not seen the request for, more funds. He heard that they were asking for an additional $15,000 for that 30, and he himself was going to request that they give 25. But that's only one commissioner out of the rest. I did tell that commissioner that when we had the ambulance service in here last time, there was only 146 calls difference between in city limits and outside of city limits. And I thought that if we were going to do anything, we should go half and half. So then it helps our budget, and because they're covering up to almost 100%, like 98% are covering up to these calls.
Well, if the county, if the county would give more.
Well,
Which
we
I
can
feel
always,
they should.
we can always.
I just don't wanna make a contract so detailed, or whatever you're gonna call it, that if we don't make it, like you just said, because truly to no fault of their own, I mean, if they don't have the employees, and I'm not giving them,
I think we need to know more about their standards when it comes to coverage, from another entity coming in. You know, how far out is that entity before they lead to, you know, our county? you know, because I know there was a situation not too long ago, we didn't have anybody here. And when they got back into town, they asked dispatch if that individual went by POV or do they still need to respond, and they still needed to respond.
I agree, I mean, I totally agree, there's a problem.
We need to have some kind of a backup when
We just don't have a plan B.
because what's happening is there's more life flights going out because we don't have transportation. And some of those, for instance, the county will have to cover. And so if minimum is 50,000, that can add up pretty quick.
Smokes.
That's minimum.
The county has to cover them?
If it's a title patient and then they send out by ambulance or life flight. So I mean, that's something the commissioners have to deal with, but these are things that are.
That's why the life flight salesman was here last time.
And he was, and the thing was, is he was the only entity that didn't respond to my request for the difference in amounts of calls from a certain date to this date, but he showed up here because Campbell County invited that. So that drew red flags for me. But then he also stated that, like guy also stated that it was the hospital, the doctor is the one that needs to request that. So maybe the hospital needs to figure out a way to retain until there can be a transport by ambulance. I mean, because the cost of a life flight is so expensive to.
Don't talk to him, it wasn't.
Yeah. He's not gonna pay the bill. But either way, we need to have teeth in the game because it's not our money. It's our taxpayers' money, and we're not getting the service that they were promised they were gonna get. I know there's issues that are uncontrolled that are preventing some of this, but they gotta be able to accept something when it comes to utilizing volunteers. I mean, if they have 2 certified intermediates or paramedics, there's no reason why they can't utilize 2 drivers and have a paramedic or an intermediate in the back, and that's 2 ambulances. Well, they can be trained, but also if they're driving, they can't go back there. But I mean, they have to be trained because they have to pull over,
Yeah.
they have to do
They can't go 100 miles an hour.
No, but I mean, well, you know, I'm sure you worked on for the ambulance, and I worked on the ambulance, and we had to drive the ambulance through a course. I don't know if you did, but we had to
I
drive
didn't at that time.
we had to drive through a combed course and pass to be a driver. So I don't know how Campbell County does it, but that's how the prior ambulance service went.
And why won't they take it, volunteers and people that are credible?
Well, it's different. I mean, Roger was a private business, and that's how he ran his business. Campbell County,
They said it was their insurance.
Yeah,
it's their insurance.
They won't
So-
insure a driver that's a volunteer other than an employee.
And they say they can't afford to pay a driver, but at the same point, they're paying so much to utilize other entities to come here and pay gas and pay all of that. So it's their business plan, which we don't have any say over. And, but if it goes to an ambulance district, then there's that mill levy that goes towards that, and that's not in our budget or the county's budget. But then, you know, who's going to look over that said entity?
I spent some time looking up ambulances and how much they cost. I went to the hospital and they guaranteed me that any nurse can ride in that ambulance in the back and I found some for $50,000 to $90,000 that were in great shape and good vehicles. And if we could find a donor I mean,
Um,
you know, somebody Par Pacific maybe might help us buy an
Well,
ambulance.
I talked with an individual who stated how Osage got their ambulance, and that was through a grant with AMR. I think they paid $1 for it, so I have a couple calls out to AMR. And then I'm trying to get a hold of.
Perfect, that's a
Cindy
good
Price.
idea, because then we
So-
can put a nurse and we can train a driver and we can be the volunteers. I don't care, I'd volunteer.
There's a lot more to it, but I mean,
I drive it.
But-
Now, come on, Ann, just be nice.
But, I mean, those are things that we can do on our end. But the other thing is too, is I really do think that, we need to talk to the county in regards to, the calls for service, and paying a little bit more, where we can pay a little bit less. And they can serve the funds that they so desire. And the same point, but, I mean, they're asking for more money and we're getting less and less and less. So, I mean, I understand prices are going up for everybody, but, you know, at least when I pay for a gallon of milk, I'm getting a gallon of milk. So,
That's right.
but what do we do? Because like Ann said, we are in a community that needs an ambulance service. All communities need an ambulance service. But we can't be walked over either. So,
I think we need to put in some work before the next council meeting. And maybe look at this a little bit harder at the next council meeting. And maybe try to get on the agenda for the county commissioners so that we can talk to them about this situation. And we can find out what's going on with their hiring of drivers. And we can kind of get an assessment of what exactly is going on. Because since the last meeting, I've heard no updates.
Yeah.
And I have no idea what's going on. And I don't feel like hitting them with a contract when it's already been explained to us that they're taking a pretty good loss by serving our community, is just gonna run them off, and then we got nothing. So maybe we should look into exactly what's going on right now before we throw a contract at them.
Our hospital is in the red too for last year.
Campbell County Hospital is in the red too, I'll bet.
Should we do what Her Honor said and get them to come to our next meeting? And
we can have them come to our next meeting, and we can also, like Councilman Owen said, get with the county commissioners or even invite them as, and have them do a special meeting. So if we need to do some kind of a motion, they can do a motion on that.
I like that. That's a good idea.
And email ambulance service, and then,
To the next meeting, or you want to set something else?
do we want just a special meeting regarding ambulance, or do we want them at our next council meeting? Because that gives us 2 weeks.
I think 2 weeks is a good amount of time to try to figure out what the situation is.
So just the next council meeting? Yeah.
Which would be
July 1st.
July
3rd.
July 3rd.
Can I throw something out there?
Sure.
I think you're overlooking one vital entity in town that's well-trained people. Fire department.
They don't want
We've discussed that with
They
them
don't want to part of it.
multiple
They're
times.
not EMS involved.
Because then they're already, most of the firemen already have full-time positions.
Yep.
And then you're running them even thinner by adding that on top of it. So we've talked with them, I think, yearly on this subject. So,
I brought it up several times.
Yeah. Okay.
so
That is not.
maybe things can change if the county does go for ambulance district and it's voted for. It,
That would be a good place to start.
so, all right, so we'll table this and still review it and put your ideas and thoughts on it, and Clerk Haggerty will get a email out to the ambulance service and the commissioners.
Good.
And I would ask the commissioners to make a special meeting say there's a motion that needs to be made. Okay. All right, anything else on the ambulance service? Okay. Business number 2, sale of city property.
I have not met with any realtors yet.
Okay. All right, so we'll table that too.
We have had a couple of different people interested in that property though, it sounds like.
Yeah, they went to interim engineer Chuck Bartlett, so I've got their names and contact information. So as soon as we figure out what realtor we're going through, then we can start the process.
Which one are we actually talking about?
The
property?
Actually, 4 of the property, 5 of the properties. The 3 on Salem, and then one on York and one on Howell Street, Elmont Street.
Greg, so am I to understand we only have 5 lots right now?
6.
6? But once those lots are sold, then we'll be out of lots.
Yeah.
So we don't have to worry about them anymore.
We have one on Morrissey.
Look at all the money we're gonna have too.
You can buy an ambulance.
Sure. We could repay the $1 million.
Actually, it's 7.
You've been smoking lately.
It's actually 7. We have one more on Deanne Avenue.
Do we have something over by off Morrissey?
Yes. Morrison City, Ohio.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah, what was used as a bus loop, but it isn't used as a bus loop anymore, so.
Was that the lot that it was kind of proposed to maybe make it into an RV dump site someday?
No.
No, different one? Okay.
All right, anything else on city property, otherwise it's tabled? Department head, city clerk treasurer Stacy Hatterly. Any questions for clerk? Public Works Supervisor Greg Stumpf.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. First things first, the Streets Committee. When would everybody, the Streets Committee be available to meet?
Well, you're on the streets committee, so you need to give them a date when you'd like to meet.
I'm pretty easy.
Are you? Tom says he's easy, Greg, so if you threw out a date and time, maybe
Yeah, I'll
he'd
probably be
be
there.
Just not Thursdays.
Said say that, didn't you?
I did, said it before you were.
How about Monday, the 26th? Works.
Monday, the what?
26th?
What time?
What works best for the council?
7 a.m.
Okay, 7 a.m.?
No,
No?
I have company coming.
9 a.m.,
Yeah,
how's
we're
that?
touring during the day, so later in the day.
Afternoon, say 1 o'clock.
1 p.m.
I'd have to check my calendar.
So
I'll be there.
tentatively 1 p.m.
Or, Greg, is it here?
Yeah. We can do it just here in the council chambers. Just do it here in the council chambers,
Got it.
Let's know what time. Yeah. I'll get with you, John. We also have the water sewer committee that we were going to get set up for rates and other things. We do have the landfill meeting, public meeting for landfill remediation, the 21st at 7 p.m. So,
But we could have the sewer meeting on the 26th at 2 p.m.
That doesn't work for me. I'm gonna be out the last week of the month.
Okay.
So, anytime this week, I would be available.
Do you wanna do it tomorrow?
Tuesday.
Are you available tomorrow?
Yeah, I'm available tomorrow.
After around 6, I got a meeting right after work tomorrow.
So 6 p.m.?
Mhm.
Okay, that works. All right.
Okay. Greg,
Yes.
Councilman Chambers.
And to request one more cemetery committee meeting to discuss the plat for the expansion and plans for the rest of the expansion. Yeah, I'm available anytime pretty much other than that landfill meeting.
Sometimes that.
7 o'clock on Wednesday.
Why don't we do it right before?
We do that. It's not gonna take long. It's probably maybe 15, 20 minutes.
So at 5:30?
5:30,
Does that work?
Not tomorrow.
Wednesday.
Oh,
Chai?
I thought the water committee, sewer committee was tomorrow.
Sewer. Yeah,
You wanna do the
sewer's
cemetery meeting right after?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay.
Or before. I think she was trying to go before 5:30 tomorrow.
No, before the landfill on Wednesday.
Oh, okay. No, I guess that would work for me too.
What time?
Landfill meetings 7
At 7.
and start at 6.
Okay.
So 5:30 on Wednesday.
6. She
6.
said 6. For the
6 o'clock.
cemetery, 7 for the landfill.
Okay, 6 o'clock on Wednesday. Okay.
We are working on an abandonment of an easement on property on South Seneca and West Hill Street. Just church on the hill bought the property. There is an unused easement cutting across it in kind of an L shape. So we're gonna see what we can do to get that accomplished. So, other than that, do you have any questions on the reports? South Summit Avenue project, we're still waiting for the contractor to show up. They were supposed to be here today. So I'll have to find out what their plan is, when they're gonna do it, when they're gonna get started. We did get all the data to request it for now to the water master plan, the engineers for that. And well 5 project is wrapping up, so we should have final completion here in the next week or 2. And the lagoon cell B cleaning project is pretty much done. We have a 41-day advertisement, and then we can release the bond money that they put up. Boyd Avenue Water Street project, phase 2 portion is also complete, so we'll do a final completion on that one and get it moved on. Or get moved on to a different project. So we also received the contract and the award letter for the 7th Avenue water and sewer main replacement this week, so we'll get that signed and get that thing underway.
That's good news.
That's all I have.
Okay, any questions for the supervisor? Okay, moving on, police chief Chuck Bowles.
Madam Mayor. A little update on the dispatch. We're still working with the county very well in trying to get things set up. We will probably have to purchase some furniture, which is pretty pricey, but we're gonna have to purchase that to get dispatch set up and so Motorola can come in and wire everything and get everything set. So we're working with them and Upton and trying to figure out what we want to go with and how we can get that accomplished. There's a few things that we have several weeks before we can get those things done. Some of the recorders and stuff hooked up. So probably in all reality, in the dispatch move will probably be still maybe a couple months out. We have an IT company that has started some work in the new PD to get things kind of wrapped up so that we can move our computers and stuff over prior to dispatch being moved over into that space. So I'm hoping in the next few weeks they can have their stuff hooked up and we can move over and so we'll actually have the police department here and working out of there. So I think that's all I got.
Chief, who is the new IT company and where are they from?
They're out of Rapid and it's Link Tech.
Link Tech. And was the contract for you pretty heavy?
What we're doing right now is they're doing time and materials. Once they get this project done, wrapped up, then we will talk to them about a contract, which once we go into a contract with them, we'll get a reduced rate for the time and materials. But we'll discuss that once they get this main stuff done that we have to get done.
Any questions for the chief? Okay, moving on to City Attorney Dublin Hughes.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. So starting off, I do have one comment that I wanted to bring up regarding City Ordinance Section 17-14. Obscenity, public appearance in nude, dress not belonging to sex of wearer, indecent exposure, lewd or indecent behavior. It came to my attention earlier this week that there is a actual line in there that if it were to be enforced, it probably would be a violation under the First Amendment. So with leave of the council, I would like to go back and amend this to cross out the wording that says, or in dress not belonging to the sex of such person, or in any indecent or lewd dress, and leave the rest as is.
Or in dress not belonging to the sex of such person.
Same sex. Pleasure or in the opposite.
No, I'm asking what one he's cutting out here.
So it would be all of that, or in dress not belonging to the sex of such person, or in an indecent or lewd dress, and then it would just continue on with or to make any indecent exposure.
Don't you say that it would be in violation of the First Amendment?
Yeah.
What's amendment? The First Amendment.
It's just another example of ordinances that are on the books that probably aren't likely to be enforced. So I mean, I think amending it so that it doesn't violate the Second Amendment. I've seen people in town, First Amendment, excuse me. I've seen people in town wearing clothing other than the sex or gender that they identify. So, I mean, and I didn't see them get cited with a ticket. So it's just another example of an ordinance that's on the books that.
In regard to into this in general, council, that Dad and I had an issue that came up, I would say probably 3 or 4 years ago for a certain contest that happens in Sundance during the rally. It's a wet t-shirt contest. And frankly, I think that under our state laws, even in regard to that, it would be a violation, but if it were to be in federal court, that would be struck down as well, I think. There's a case, and I apologize for the name of the case, but it's a federal 10th Circuit District federal court case called Free the Nipple versus the City of Fort Collins. And that basically has lowered a lot of basically your obscenity and nude sort of ordinances in very stringent fashion. So you and I probably
blush.
The reason I said that is because probably you and I are going to have a chat about that too.
That case law.
I think it says something that we're all blushing with that.
I mean, if you look, it was 1889.
Yeah, back in, yeah.
So it's been there for a while.
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
There's a lot of ordinances that haven't been looked at.
But I just wanted to bring it to the council's attention. I don't think that anyone was going to be cited for this ordinance specifically, but just in the same vein, that also is an issue that's going to come up if and when it were to, because that's something that's more prevalent than actually wearing a dress, I would say. That's all I have for that. If I could I get a motion to amend that as stated?
I move that we amend the section 17-14 as Dublin has prescribed.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
So Dublin, I mean, when it comes to ordinances from antiquity, right? Sometimes they just get left on the books because
They're funny.
that are old.
Just because, yeah.
So, I mean, I guess it doesn't hurt anything to amend it, but then I also like our community, and I like some of the stands that we take, so it wouldn't bother me to leave it alone either.
You can always object to it. Any other discussion?
It would never be enforced, that's the thing.
All in favor, say aye. All opposed, same sign.
Aye. Stays.
Okay.
All right. So for the feces ordinance,
The feces.
We go from one to the next.
there is one amendment I would like to make on my own ordinance that I drafted. Under B4, I would like to change that to a person who owns a registered service animal that has. And then I would like the council's thoughts on that.
I think it was a good addition.
And just to clarify, would it be considered as the name of the park, the sports complex, O.C. Kearney?
Yes, it's O.C. Kearney Fields.
Okay.
That's what it's called.
So that would be fields, correct? Not park.
Okay, so we're just banning any animal from the sports area. That's a good thing.
Except service animals, we can't.
Yeah, except, yeah.
And that encompasses the soccer fields as well?
Yeah, because the property originally, if I understand it correctly, with there was a grant we received years ago, and we had to name the area. The area includes what's now the soccer fields. At that time, it was all t-ball fields in that area, so it still actually encompasses that entire area.
So were we just only doing this towards the complex or all parks? Because I thought it was all parks.
No, just primarily the sports fields.
I mean, for the parks, it's still
The parks would be very,
it would be under subsection A. You'd have to clean it up and.
yeah, they still have to be on a leash and they still have to clean up. So the sports fields should be on the grid.
They shouldn't even be there.
Is $50 any threat to anybody?
It used to be 10, right?
Yeah.
It used to be 10.
I'm just throwing it out there, because $50 doesn't go very far, it may be 100. Get their attention.
I think 50's good.
Because halves, I mean, it's unlikely that someone would just have a service animal, but it's possible that someone could say, hey, can I borrow your dog for the day or whatever.
And we need to put something in there that they're wearing service dogs.
So I went and looked into that too. You can't actually ask someone for identification of a service animal under the Code of Federal Regulations.
So how would they determine if it's
That's something that I was trying to wrap my head around too, is how do you identify
they're
someone?
supposed to wear?
I think you get something, correct? You get
Some sort of
identifier, but
Is it some kind of HIPAA violation or something to ask them?
I was sitting there and I was going, there's no way, and then I thought, well,
American
it is
I believe it's ADA. When we looked up a bunch of ADA stuff, it had certain samples in there. Yeah, he's correct. You cannot ask them for
But are they
credentials.
supposed to be wearing,
Supposed to be labeled.
It's supposed to be labeled, but if the dog isn't labeled, or the cat, or the horse, or
and
the
Chief
cow,
Bulls can't walk up and ask.
so if somebody's at the ballpark and saying, I'm sorry, your dog isn't allowed here.
They'll just tell you that it's a service animal. There's nothing you can do to debunk that. Of course, us saying it on camera so that people can watch it on the YouTube channel just gives everybody ideas.
Zoom in on that one.
I still want to raise the fee, $75. Do I hear 100? No? Everybody gonna go for it? Okay.
I'm gonna say the majority of the people over there probably are getting younger that have maybe the dog. Maybe, no.
The other day I seen a couple of them, they had 2 dogs running around, they were throwing the ball and the dogs were chasing them. That was on the big baseball.
Yeah, that's the one she complained about the most.
And that's why it's turned into a complaint, is because it's a pretty common occurrence, I guess. And then people aren't picking up after their dogs.
Cemetery's the same way.
What?
Cemetery's the same way.
I think that's
The
off
parks.
to people let their dogs defecate to cemetery.
I think it's damn disrespectful.
I agree.
Can we have our little red truck go out to the sports area every once in a while and then that lady be around, or the guy now, I don't know what. And that person can write tickets, can't she? Okay, let's have her be stationed out there for a while after we pass this ordinance and make sure that the people and the lady that came here notice that we're trying to do something. Would that be okay?
$12 at night.
So
Right.
is there any other trouble with the language? Because I would feel comfortable making a motion.
Well, we were making an amendment to an ordinance, but I don't know what ordinance number it is.
It's chapter 4, section 4-4.2.
Okay, so it's an amendment to chapter 4, section 4-4.2 of the Newcastle, Wyoming Municipal Code, section 4-4, section 2, right?
It would be ordinance number 3, series 2023.
Because I think the amendment's still going, but I do think there should be an amendment anyway. Because not legally speaking, I just feel like we should do that because people get confused.
So it's going to be ordinance number 3, an amendment to ordinance
I make a motion that we make an amendment to ordinance number 3, series 2023.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Chief, will you give this amended copy to the CSO and I just send it with that change.
That's the amendment, yeah.
Okay, so with that, the Senate and the thesis covered, what's next?
Do we have to do 3 readings on that since it's an amendment?
Yeah, it's going to be a change.
Okay, so that was just the first
The
reading?
first reading, yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
First reading, so this is right here.
This is the first reading.
Okay, so the last thing that I have, it's not actually on the agenda, but I just wanted to bring up was seeing that the Joint Powers Board is going to be created in the near future. We do have the 2 at-large individuals within the county that need to be picked. And the manner in which we were going to do that was with 1 person from the City Council, 1 person from the Commissioners, and 1 person from the City Council above them. And so we don't have to make a motion or anything tonight, but I would just like the council to mull over who they would like to pick to be on the Joint Powers Board Council for the choosing of the at-large individual. And that's all I have.
Any questions for City Attorney?
So, Dublin, I was approached in the supermarket the other day by an angry citizen in regard to the Joint Powers Board. I was to understand that it was a 5-person board. So, I mean, that would be Chief Bowles, right? Chief Susan from Bridge, and then Sheriff Ryan Colbart with 2 remaining positions. So what you just said sounded like there was going to be somebody from the Board of the County Commissioners.
So I stated that unclearly, excuse me, but what happens is we had 2 at-large, and the reason for that is we thought if we got 7 or 9, we were getting just too many people on, basically the board for the Joint Powers Board.
Understood.
But we wanted to non-law enforcement as well. We wanted someone, who's not from inside looking out the entire time. So basically what happens is those 3 individuals, they get a bunch of applications from interested citizens, and then they pick 2 of those citizens.
So, and then something else that I thought was brought up at the special meeting was, somebody was complaining how there was nobody from the fire department or EMS represented on the board. So I didn't know if that got included, or was that something that everybody was just supposed to look at while they were meeting in regard to the Joint Powers Board?
So if I recall correctly, it basically was with the 2 at-large. And it gets a little tricky again, because if you were to throw in someone from the fire department, which again, I don't think that's necessarily a bad idea, but By definition, then we have to have someone else from, more individuals instead of the 5 on board.
So increase the size of the board.
Yeah, and the other thing is that if someone from the fire department were just interested in actually overseeing that, they could also put in an application and I believe be accepted
As part of the members at large.
Yeah.
I don't think there's any exclusion
Yeah.
to who could put in for that.
I think also, it was discussed that, like, if it was the Newcastle Fire Department, they could go to Chief Bowles. If it was the county fire department, they could go to the sheriff. If it was Upton, they could go to Susan, Chief Branch. And same thing with the ambulance service.
And we're gonna continue to have those meetings like we have with the fire department to see what their needs are and bring those in so that dispatch is adequately covering everybody. So it's not, they're not being excluded at all, and I hope even past when I'm gone that those things will still be in place, that they're being helped just as much as everybody else, that ambulance and fire and search and rescue.
So the concerned citizen, Dublin, made mention to, the fact that they didn't think that the city would cave on this issue, and that they felt like we caved to going towards the Joint Powers Board. And then I told the citizen that I felt like the city was gonna save $200,000 a year on the proposed budget. And we talked to the dispatchers and they felt comfortable, and all of our law enforcement personnel have been working on it very hard, and that the Joint Powers Board seemed like a good solution to the problem. And they told me that they felt like the Joint Powers Board was going to end up costing us more in the long run. And then they wanted me to bet on it with them. And when I said I'd make a gentleman's bet, they said, no, I want to keep it $100 because I want you to feel it when you're wrong. So anyway, I was kind of bummed out to hear. It's hard being a public servant because I can't make everybody happy, but I felt like really good after the meeting. I felt like we had done something positive, in the grand scheme of things.
I think that we didn't have to cave, the county didn't have to cave. We could have fought for the next 20 years over this.
Right.
And it would have hurt the citizens of Newcastle and the county. That's what would have happened. We would have had 2 dispatches. The city police department and the county sheriff's department would have not gotten along, and it would have been chaos for the next who knows how many years. And that's why I pushed for the Joint Powers Board and why we have to come together and work together, is because I wanted to prevent that from happening. Because two dispatch centers would have cost us a minimum of $1.2 million, guaranteed.
It would have promoted the anger.
And it would have. And I can tell you, there was a lot of fighting and stuff, since I've been here. And after we've kind of come together and buried what we need to bury, our working relationship with the Sheriff's Department has been great. We had an escape a couple weeks ago. We worked together great. It's been, we need to find him, but it's not that we didn't try and we didn't work together. And I think working through all this dispatch stuff, it's going to be a great asset to our society here in Weston County.
Well, I don't look at it like either caved, either, like you just said. I think we came to an agreement.
You have to compromise when you have an agreement.
There was an agreement.
And it came to a better agreement than what was proposed before, which gave us the red flags. So, going from the beyond the maximum amount on a Joint Powers Board to 5, and saving our taxpayers a lot of money and having that, I think. There was some stuff in there that was requested from each entity that everybody was able to work on. And so, my thought process changed on it too once we got away from all those red flags.
And Councilman, just to clarify, at least, and I'm not the numbers guy, but Stacy was present, Kelly from Upton was present, there were multiple numbers thrown around basically, and I think, the best estimate that possibly could have been given, was given. The thing that kind of was coming out is that if you had an individual dispatch, one of them being Weston counties and then one of them being the city, a city dispatch, and then there's 2 dispatch centers. I don't think that even remote, I think that will be way far and away more expensive than it would have been if it's just 1 to 3 entities working together. And the numbers were showing that as well. So.
And I think it would have been very, very hard to man 2 dispatch centers.
Oh.
No, and I mean, the citizens were not in favor. At any of the meetings that we had, the citizens weren't in favor of having 2 dispatches. So I feel like we did a good thing.
You did a good thing. I think you all did a good thing, and Chief, you and Dublin, you guys have put together a hell of a deal for our county and our city, and we appreciate you.
Thank you.
That's all, Madam Mayor. Thank you.
Any other for city attorney? Okay. Any standing committee reports? Any other business?
I actually have any other business tonight, Madam Mayor. It's in regard to the committee assignments. I brought up my concerns several times, both on the record and off the record. But I want it addressed tonight because I need some clarification as to how you assigned the committees. Because you pulled me off of the sanitation committee, one that I had sat on since I started with the city council, and one that I had a background in as an employee, former employee of the city of Newcastle. Some of the experience that I brought to that committee led us to some of the design ideas for the reclamation of landfill number 1, and one of which being the idea not to send the leachate to our lagoons, which I believe would have caused us greater problems in the future. But now I'm limited to 2 committees, but you removed me from committees where I had a lot of work experience, and I would just like some clarification as to why you pulled me off of the Streets and Alleys Buildings Committee and the Sanitation Committee.
Well, you have experience, I think, in 4 of the committees, and we didn't have a full council. So I guess, when I was making the committees, I was trying to add in Councilman Butts and Councilman Boss. So that kind of removed some people from the committees that they were on. I mean, I can relook at it and look and see who's on what committees, and if you guys all want to send me.
I'm on there 4 times.
Okay, if you wanna send me an email, all of you, in regards to what committees you feel that you would be best on, do that, and then we could talk about this at the next meeting.
Okay.
That's agreeable, Madam Mayor.
Okay,
I'll be sending you an email.
if everyone could please. Any other business? Can I get a motion to leave regular session to enter into executive session 16-4-405 II referencing personnel?
Let's move. Second.
Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Okay, moving into